Greetings, fellow Gorehounds, and welcome back to a Blood Splattered vlog. I'm the Horror Guru.
And I'm Count Jackula.
And tonight, live on Saturday night, we are going to talk about Late Night with the Devil, the latest film by the Cairnes brothers, the Australian duo behind 100 Bloody Acres, which was an Australian horror comedy kind of like Motel Hell, or a rural family with a secret ingredient, and the secret ingredient is people.
Yeah.
This movie is a little less comedic than that, though it is still funny, but it is about a late night talk show host in the 1970s trying to compete with Johnny Carson. And in order to compete with Johnny Carson, he decides to do a spooky Halloween event in which he brings on a possibly possessed girl, a possible psychic, and a skeptic who is totally not, the Amazing Randy?
The Amazing Randy.
The Amazing Randy, who's totally not the Amazing Randy, but kind of is the Amazing Randy. So this movie kind of sits in place somewhere between something like Ghost Watch, where it's trying to recreate a television event.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like The Cleansing Hour, which was the live stream horror movie about a live streamed exorcism. Somewhere in between those two movies, this exists. And it stars David Dastmalchian. I probably mispronounced his name and I apologize, but he's the polka dot man from The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad.
Oh, good point.
To be clear, because there is a difference.
Yeah, the James Gunn one.
The James Gunn one. He is the main character. He's given the most screen time. I like his performance. It's a cross between someone like a Johnny Carson. I could see a little bit of like Stephen Colbert in there.
In a lesser film, this character would just be plain selfish and evil.
Yeah, and he's not entirely.
But he's not.
He is selfishly motivated, but he does have like a heart in there, often being overrun by his desire for more ratings.
Yeah. So he's conflicted rather than just an asshole.
There's also a backstory where right before this event happened, he lost his wife due to cancer. So he's also dealing with the emotional turmoil of that throughout this movie. Now, if you're wondering, how are you going to take an hour-long talk show event and turn it into a 2-hour movie? They actually do that by including a couple things. The first is there's an opening voiceover by Michael Ironside explaining to you about how he lost his wife, explaining to you about why he's doing the event and his ratings dive that happened.
Yeah, and that's a good 10 minutes.
It is a good 10 minutes. And they also show us behind the scenes footage of him arguing with his crew over whether or not they're going too far with the event.
Yeah.
And that footage is done in black and white. It's probably the one part of the movie where I have the most criticism because of everything else in the movie. It's the one that I feel like breaks the conceit a little bit, because you really gotta like believe they actually have this behind the scenes footage. And most of the time they don't film that kind of stuff.
No, the cameras come off at that point, particularly in the 70s.
But that's a minor conceit, because outside of that, this movie is fucking phenomenal. David Dastmalchian does the performance of his career. I really hope they give him more leading man roles after this.
Oh yeah.
He's kind of like Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah.
Where you see him in a lot of things in small roles, but where he really shines is when he's allowed to be the main character and be the weird main character that he's capable of being.
Yeah, this is where his heart and soul is.
Oh yeah. That's the thing. One of the production companies, okay, so this movie has like 10 production company logos at the beginning, just to warn you, because it's that kind of low budget feature where they had to take all the funding they could get from everywhere they could get in order to get it made. One of the production companies is actually his. And I believe its logo is the one that has that like stop motion horror thing going on. So that kind of tells you where his heart is as a filmmaker and as an artist. He also has a comic book line that he does, which is all about like a horror host fighting monsters.
Whoa.
So like you can tell this is the kind of shit that he likes.
Gotcha.
You know, that's what David Dastmalchian's all about. The other thing that I think really works in this movie is they kind of perfectly capture the 70s.
Yeah, they perfectly capture the look of like a 70s live television show.
100%, right down to those browns and like oranges.
Yeah, the obsession, the 70s obsession with brown is in full display here. Brown, orange, and yellow were like the typical like 70s colors, particularly in like live television around this period of time.
I also like the practical gooey effects that happen. It's not throughout the entire movie, but when that stuff does happen towards the end, it's really great.
Oh, yeah.
There's one bit with a worm. Not going to go too far into it. I really fucking love that effect.
Yeah. The third act is when everything like just goes off the rails.
The third act is also the place where I feel like you're either going to be on board with the movie or it's going to lose you, because the third act is where it just goes buck wild and it kind of plays with its own conceit a little little bit. And you're either going to be okay with that, or you're going to be like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, yeah, it kind of reminds me of the VHS segment about Ratma.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
in fact, this entire movie almost feels like an extended VHS segment.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Like one of the better ones.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The girl that plays the possessed girl is really good.
With her demon, Mr. Wriggles?
Mr. Wriggles. Yeah.
Because he wriggles inside her brain.
Yeah. She tells you that. But, like, how delightfully weird and awkward she is.
She's fucking great. The dude who played the amazing Randy stand-in,
yeah,
I love that guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's hamming it up like the best of them.
Well, yeah, because he's supposed to be a stage magician.
Exactly.
You know? Man, they just nailed the amazing Randy.
Well, what I like about him is that I love that he is perfectly logical throughout most of the movie. But he's also got that tinge of dismissiveness. He's an asshole. He's looking down on these people because he sees them as con artists.
Yeah.
And also, there's a bit of like, when you're on a talk show host like that, you kind of have to perform because they're performing.
Yeah.
And even they're like, oh, why are you being so mean to us? They're performing that. Like, they're pretending to be the victim because most of them know they're con artists.
Yeah.
With the exception of certain things that will happen over the course of the movie that you'll find out are not con artists. I also love that they perfectly showcase the cold reading grift and they break it down. Yeah. And I love that because The Amazing Randy was one of the guys that actually like broke down how that grift works.
That was his big thing. Yeah, that's one of his big things.
I do love how it integrates some real life stuff with its fictional stuff.
Yes.
But also, like, it's still fictionalizing it. It reminds me a lot of The Sacrament in that way. The Sacrament was 100% about everything that went down with Jim Jones. But Jim Jones's name is never uttered in that movie because it does a fictionalized version of the event.
Right, exactly.
And this movie does the same thing with The Amazing Randy and some popular talk show appearances he had.
Yeah, and it kind of asks the question, what would happen if there was actually something behind any of that?
Also, the satanic cult mentioned in the movie. They're alluding to those two things, the Church of Satan and Bohemian Grove, which are two real things, but they kind of smash them together into their own fictional version for the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is, to be fair, is the conspiracy theory, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the conspiracy theory, and they're just kind of playing with that.
Yeah, oh my god, the Bohemian Grove are a bunch of Satanists that actually sacrifice people, you know, as opposed to a bunch of old white guys in robes, you know? Like,
absolutely. I think this movie works. It's one of my favorite movies of the year, but I do think I do need to mention the elephant in the room about this movie. I'm only going to mention it briefly because I don't want to get into the weeds on this discussion too much. Yes, the movie features 2 AI-generated images in the movie. They are only on screen for like a couple seconds. They are literally the images when it says, "We'll be right back."
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Personally, I don't think they should have used AI images. They could have just hired an artist to create those images very easily.
Yeah.
But I also don't think they take away from the movie, nor do I think they ruin the immersion of the movie in any way.
No, because like AI images are real mid.
Yeah.
And those station identification cards are also super mid.
There's also an argument to be made when looking at them. Yeah, like, okay, like that skeleton, the fingers are all messed up or whatever. Yeah, but this is also a movie about Satan taking over a talk show host.
Yeah, so there's going to be, so it's supposed to be like this weird, so the devil's in the airwaves kind of thing.
The uncanny valleyness of it almost kind of works for it. That said, morally, I would have preferred them to hire an actual artist to create those images.
Yeah.
I would not have done my due diligence if I didn't mention it.
Okay.
So there we go. So Late Night with the Devil is currently available on Shudder. It was in theaters, but now it's on Shudder, and I'm pretty sure it's a Shudder exclusive because there was a Shudder logo at the beginning of it. So if you want to watch it for free, well, for subscription fee.
For the subscription fee, you're
then it's on Shudder. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, let us move on to the spoilers. Alrighty then. So, spoilers, the girl is possessed in this movie.
Yeah, there's a demon.
There is a demon.
Yeah, there is
But there's actually, like, some plot twist spoilers in the movie.
Yeah.
Mainly the revelation that he sacrificed his wife for the ratings boost.
Yeah.
And this movie is basically his comeuppance for that. It's a Tales from the Crypt kind of situation.
Yeah. But you get the feeling that, like, he did it not realizing it was, like, you know, real.
Well, yeah, he joined that cult.
Yeah.
He bent the knee, he sold his soul so that he could get the ratings and all that stuff, but he didn't realize that the cost was not going to be his life. It was going to be the thing most precious to him, his wife.
Yeah.
And this night is the night where he's going to get that ratings boost that he always wanted. He's going to beat Carson.
Yeah.
But at the cost of basically his entire existence.
Yep.
And the movie goes really buck wild in the final act showing this. Like, the girl's face fucking, like, rips open. He goes insane, but so does the broadcast itself. The broadcast does this interesting thing where it toes the line between his own inner journey as well as what's being broadcast to the people. So it's like we're watching him go through hell.
Yeah.
I do have one note I would have given this movie if it was presented to me as is before it was released. And that would have been, I would have returned to Michael Ironside at the end. It was revealed that the demon kind of tricks him into killing the little girl. And so it kind of, the police are swarming the building.
Yeah.
So like they think he killed everyone and that it was some sort of fucked up show that he put on in order to get ratings. And so it ends on that. But I would have like gone from that to Michael Ironside like wrapping up. We still do not know to this day how much of that was real and how much of that was not.
Yeah. Or like, or have him like sign off like good night and God bless.
Or even have him like appear on camera almost like one of those like unsolved mystery shows.
Yeah. That would have been fun.
So then it's like you're watching a broadcast of a broadcast.
The footage you have watched is real.
It's that feeling of like where it ended would have made sense. I feel like if we didn't have Michael Ironside at the beginning, because we don't return to Michael Ironside, it's that question of like, are you doing found footage or are you doing documentary on the footage?
Right.
And at the end, it kind of like does this more ambiguous thing that I wasn't sure how I felt about, but I did like the movie overall.
Yeah.
It's the one note I would have given the movie.
Yeah. I definitely understand why they ended where they did, because that's the strongest moment.
It's a powerful moment, right? And honestly, while I was watching the movie, I didn't think that. I only thought that like while thinking about the movie afterwards.
Right.
While watching the movie, I was so engrossed, I was like, oh man, this is perfect. You know? So for most people, it's not going to be an issue at all.
No.
It's literally just me being overly critical at this point.
Yeah, we're trying to find things to talk about because everything else just basically comes down to you want to watch this movie.
Well, yeah, it's funny. The effects are great. The 70s cinematography nails it. And it gets fucked up. And I like it when things get fucked up.
Yeah, it does this really cool thing where normally in a movie in this situation, you're like, why is everyone hanging around? Shouldn't someone like, run away?
That's the utility of those black and white segments, right? Where we actually see them arguing about this.
Yeah, they're arguing about it, and people do walk off the set.
Yes.
But then there are other people who's like, well, we've only got like, half hour left? How bad can it get?
The movie also kind of fucks with you throughout because you're not quite sure whether he is faking shit until the end.
Right. They do that whole segment with the Amazing Randy guy.
Yeah.
Where apparently in this world, hypnotism not only works, but works through television.
Yep.
And at that point, you're like...
You're either with it or you're not.
Yeah. I'm like, that's a big leap. But if in the world, that's how this works...
Yes.
Okay.
When it comes to its conceit, it takes a lot of leaps that you're either going to roll with or you're not.
Yeah.
But I think what makes it work, at least for me, is they go all the way with it.
Yes.
If they had held back in any way, the conceit breaking would stick out more.
Yes.
But because it goes all the way, it becomes so thoroughly entertaining, you don't care anymore.
Correct. If that fucking worm hadn't come out of the guy during the hypnotism sequence, you wouldn't have bought that it was somehow just power of persuasion when they bring back the footage.
But because it literally has his face break open and the worm comes out, and you're like, oh man, I don't want to lose this in the movie. This is great.
Yeah.
So that is a testament to how sometimes if you go all the way, you can get away with fudging some shit.
Yeah, you can get away with way more if you just take it to an extreme.
And so many movies want to do the subtle thing, and I kind of like that this movie is subtle up until you get to a certain point, and then
up till the final act.
But it's not sudden. Subtle. It builds up to the craziness.
Gives you everything you need to wonder how the fuck this is gonna end.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I did not expect the direction that they took.
Well, the entire time I was sitting there going like, are they going to reveal that it was all like April Fool's Day?
Yeah, exactly.
Because there are points where like they're doing the behind the scenes footage and like he's arguing with someone and then like a stagehand walks by and is like, okay, I'm going to need the knife for the exorcism. And you're like, okay, so obviously he's planning some shit, right? Like,
oh man. Yeah, no, this is a great movie. You should check it out.
Highly recommend it. One of my favorite movies of the year, probably competing competing with Destroy All Neighbors as my favorite so far.
Yeah, I think I like this one a bit more than Destroy All
Fair.
Neighbors, but Destroy All Neighbors is really good.
Yes, absolutely. Where can they find you, Count Jackula?
Oh, you can find me here on YouTube. Just look up Count Jackula on YouTube.
There you go.
There you go.
Y'all know me. I'm the Horror Guru. You can find me at the Horror Guru on Twitter, on Twitch, on Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up the Horror Guru or Blood Splattered Cinema, and I'll be there. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're notified of my videos immediately upon their upload. And if you'd like to help out either of us more directly, be sure to check out our Patreon pages. And remember, if you go $1 a month, it can go a long way. If you made it this far into the video, then I want you to comment below, and be sure to comment below using the hashtag Mr. Wriggles. Use the hashtag Mr. Wriggles. That way I know, that way Jack knows, that way the whole world knows that you watch this video all the way through. And with that said, my fellow Gorehounds, peace out, and I'll catch y'all later.